There are retirees in Austria and other European countries and other countries around the world who have received U.S. coronavirus stimulus checks for $1,200 or direct deposits, many of whom have not lived in the United States for decades, many of whom do not qualify for such stimulus payments. Only U.S. citizens and U.S. resident aliens are actually eligible for the stimulus money that starts at $1,200 and phases out up to $99,000 in income. And we have all sorts of examples of this from around the world. There's a 24-year-old citizen of the Dominican Republic who last summer worked in Cape Cod and got a $1,200 stimulus check signed by Donald Trump. There's a 73-year-old man from Linz, Austria, beautiful place, who worked as a waiter in the United States for 2 years in the 1960s, who received and was able to cash a stimulus check. His wife, who never worked or lived in the United States, received a $1,200 stimulus check. ORF reports that banks in Austria can confirm that they have cashed dozens of checks for residents of Austria, and it is unclear how many of them received checks without actually qualifying for them, without actually being entitled to them. There are thousands of foreign workers who entered the United States on temporary work visas who received $1,200 checks in error during that first round of stimulus payments. And of course, that money is mostly being spent in their home countries. Our domestic coronavirus stimulus is partially going to foreign countries, which I'm not opposed to in principle, but that was not the point of the plan. 129 countries have received at least one mistaken stimulus check. This includes Brazil, Canada, China, India, Nigeria, South Korea. And there are a bunch of different comments about this that we could make. So let's start sort of at the lowest logistical level. Government officials and tax experts say that the reason for these mistakes include that many foreign workers file tax returns incorrectly in the United States. So if you're a foreign worker, there's a particular way that you are supposed to file your taxes. Often those foreign workers misfile their taxes as if they were U.S. residents when in fact they are merely temporary workers. That could be what led to them receiving a check when they weren't supposed to receive a check. Now, there's a higher level discussion to be had here. And there's actually sort of like two different discussions. One is we have such a convoluted system in the United States from the standpoint of taxation and filing taxes that it is almost inevitable that this sort of stuff would happen. And I know that it might be fun to say, oh, this is Trump's fault. It's really not Trump's fault. What is Trump's fault is the failed response, the fact that he promised a second stimulus. We still don't have it. The fact that we've had 6 months of pandemic and just one $1,200 stimulus check. That's Trump's fault. But a lot of this is just our systems. Now, some on the right will say, wow, David, you sound like you want to simplify the tax code with something like a straight up flat tax. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the systems, including the fact that you have companies like Intuit and these companies that make TurboTax and other tax software constantly lobbying to keep the tax code more complicated. That's a piece of this. We could have a simpler system without going to a system that is unfair, like a flat tax. And then lastly, there is this sort of big picture aggregate economic element to this, which is that of the $1.4 billion in stimulus checks that, for example, went to dead Americans, 30% of that money is still unrecovered as of the latest report. So if you believe in fiscal responsibility and fiscal conservatism, for lack of a better term, this has also been a major failure. Meanwhile, there are some foreigners who do live in the United States and who are married to U.S. citizens who have not received stimulus checks, though by every sensible approximation, they should be entitled to one. And then again, more importantly, where's the second stimulus? We are now 6 months into this. Congress, I think, maybe is just back or about to be back from vacation. No second stimulus. We've got an election coming up. We've still got a raging pandemic. What is going on with that? And that continues to be an unanswered question. But at every level, there are aspects of this that have been completely mishandled. Not all of them are Donald Trump's fault directly. But certainly the situation has not been improved by Donald Trump and Steven Mnuchin and others being at the helm, and money just flying around the world. Some I know in the audience will say, hey, that's maybe a good thing. And sure, I mean, listen, hey, we're supporting different people, I guess. But if we're not even properly supporting Americans, I think there's a very reasonable case to be made that money shouldn't go to Austria, to people who aren't actually entitled to the stimulus money. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you make of it. Yesterday, the David Pakman Show had our best single day ever for audio podcast downloads. I know I've said this like 8 or 10 times in the last few months. It's because the podcast is growing dramatically. Consider yourself invited. If you normally watch on YouTube one clip at a time, but you'd like to have the full hour show all at once, get the show on iTunes, get the show on Spotify, get the show on Pandora, Stitcher, whichever is your favorite podcasting app. Let me know where you are in terms of a second stimulus by letting me know your thoughts on Twitter, where you can find me at @dpakman. If you've been watching the show, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love my Helix mattress. Well, I was really excited to hear that Helix has launched a new company called Allform, which makes premium, customizable sofas and chairs with the same level of quality and comfort that I expect from these guys. And Allform is one of our sponsors today. They're giving you 20% off at allform.com/Pakman. They actually sent me a couch, which I put in my living room at home. It's now my favorite piece of furniture in the house. It took me just minutes to set it up. It's solidly built. It's huge. It's roomy. It has a modern minimalist design, which I love, but it's also very comfortable. Fabric is soft, clearly very high quality. It has become the focal point of my living room. Their prices are very reasonable. And when you get a new sofa or chair, you get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. And the best part is everything comes with a lifetime warranty. Stop buying poorly made furniture. Go to customize your own Allform sofa or chair right now and get 20% off your entire order when you get there by going to allform.com/Pakman. I've also put the link right underneath this video.